Some of you here are facing some really momentous decisions, and you know that they're very important, that the road you take will change your life irrevocably, and each road will result in a completely different life. Some of you are thinking, should I take that new job? Or should I marry this person? Or should I break up with this person? Or should I go back to school? Or should we move into a retirement home? These are just some of the agonizing decisions that we have to make in a lifetime of choosing. Often, I think many of us wish that we could follow Yogi Berra's advice, who said that when you come to a fork in the road, take it. But we can't take the whole fork. We have to choose one way or another. Some people make those decisions without a lot of reflections, based on whim or mood, and come to regret it. There is a book by Malcolm Gladwell called Blink that says that your first hunch is your best, but there's some research that really questions those assumptions that Gladwell doesn't talk about. Some people just agonize and worry and change and can't make a decision. I had an experience recently that illustrates just how difficult decision-making can be. I was in a bookstore, and the clerk was helping me find a particular title. We were in the Society and Politics section, and there, lying on the shelf on top of the other books, was an out-of-place book. And the clerk picked up the book and he looked at it. The title of the book was Overcoming Indecision. And he said, you know, this book ends up all over the store. People just pick it up and then they decide they really don't want to buy it. In the Christian tradition, there is an art that is taught, which is called discernment. And in that tradition, the art of discernment, a prayerful sifting of the will of God, has a particular meaning. Seeking the will of God through prayer. I hasten to add the humanist translation. And that is to make decisions in harmony with your deepest values, using your best self. No matter what our theological position might be, we can learn a lot from some of these ancient methods of discernment. And in case you don't remember them all and they interest you, I'm going to recap them in a future blog. It won't be until after this sermon is seen in South Bay, but the information will be available to you later. Classically, a discernment is a choice between two good choices. But our world is such today, and the human condition is such, that many of you today are facing some very difficult choices. Neither of them are optimum. Choices about whether to let your home go and continue to borrow from your retirement to keep it, or what kind of medical treatment to choose, if any, for a serious illness. We all have choices, and they're difficult. And I think that these ancient techniques, coming from the wisdom of one of our great spiritual traditions, can help. I get most of these from one of my teachers at the Shalem Institute for Spiritual Formation. It's an institute that was founded to teach the Christian mystical tradition in terms of guiding people's spiritual lives. And this was from one of the founders of that institute, Sister Rosemary Doherty, who said that the will of God is identical with our most authentic self. So you don't have to have a particular spiritual or religious or theological position to use these methods. It's listening closely enough to the voice of your authentic self. It's the same. And so that usually implies, when it's possible, to take time with these important decisions, to center yourself, to know that you have trod upon sacred and holy ground. So here are some questions that you might want to ask yourself. In making this decision, which of the impulses in me come from the best self, the friend of my best self? And then you can ask yourself, which of the impulses in me are coming from the unhealed parts of myself, the immature parts of myself, the enemy, really, of our best self? How do you know if the voice within you is the enemy of your best self? Well, does it sound like a spoiled child? Well, that's probably one you don't want to listen to. Does it sound like a false lover telling you all kinds of lies that you know to be lies from previous experience? Does it know where to attack you at your weakest point? It's good to know before you act on these impulses that they come from a place that is not yet healed. There is a place within you that is whole and authentic. Listen to that. And of course, you should gather facts. Really, as many facts as you can. But that can get confusing. We all know the method of making two lists in two columns, pros on one side, cons on the other. And that is a really helpful exercise. I don't think you should make a major decision in your life without doing that, but I don't think that's sufficient. St. Ignatius Loyola talks about taking that one step further. He said to look at the values you have behind these pros and cons. Of course, that exercise will be easier if you know what your life mission is. It's something I really recommend thinking about. At this point in your life, at this point in your journey, what is your life mission? And just kind of walk around with that list in your pocket, literally. Asking, what source of truth am I closing myself off from that I'm not hearing? Those of you who are high tech, I found a great new toy that'll help you make decisions. It's based on not the latest thing from Silicon Valley, but the ancient teachings of the Buddha. And it is a computer-generated algorithm for making decisions based on the Buddha's teachings. So seriously, you get on this website and you follow the algorithm, you make the choices, and you do the things, and it tells you, you will know at the end whether you can make the decision and what it is, or whether it's time to wait, or what more facts you might need. And it's really, really cool, and Chris will have it on the website. I gave it to him, so you can look it up. Another thing you can do is you can ask yourself, if I were my best friend, what advice would I give me? That seems kind of strange, but really, to get some distance from yourself, to get some objectivity is really a good thing to do when you're making a life decision. Another good way is to imagine yourself dying on your deathbed after a long life and thinking about what your life was like making one decision at its end and what your life was like making the other decision at its end. Rosemary Doherty said that all holy desires are not diminished by delays, which is music to the ears of a procrastinator like me. And in fact, I had to add this morning. There was a review of a book in today's Union Tribune by University of San Diego law professor Frank Partnoy, who's an expert in corporate law, and he was studying how the financial crisis came about, how those decisions were made. His conclusion is, to a great degree, they were just made too fast, without enough delay. He said that, in his book, delay, even for a second, yields better results. The book's called Delay. He wrote, "We're all operating at a breakneck, dangerous pace. We're not thinking enough. We're not being strategic, and it's causing serious problems in the economy and elsewhere. It's making people unhappy and unproductive. The pressure to act quickly before anyone else, I really think, is leading to bad decisions in all realms of our culture and in all realms of our life." Portnoy talks about CNN and Fox both misreporting the Supreme Court decision on the health care law. They both reported that the health care law had been struck down. It's because they didn't read the whole press release. They were in such a hurry to be the first to bring that to the public. So I think this is especially true with really major life decisions. Don't worry about delay. You don't want to have buyer's remorse on an existential scale. The right decision is not always the easy decision either. Rosemary Doherty said, if you want to run toward and run away at the same time, you can be pretty sure you're in holy ground. And that takes prayerful, centered reflection. How many of you have ever wasted time playing Minesweeper on the computer? Anybody want to confess? All right, so I did yesterday when I was supposed to be writing this sermon. Anyway, so those of you who haven't played Minesweeper, what it is, it's this game. It's supposed to be really good for the brain, right? So what you do is you try to figure out by reasoning and by the proximity of other squares. You uncover these squares, and then you mark the ones that have a mine by reasoning the proximity. So you have to really think about it. And there are, if you're on the expert level like me, you get 99, there are 99 mines on that square. And if you even hit one mine, you're out, you lose. So really, you don't win very often. Decisions aren't like that. There isn't usually just one right choice, and if you make the wrong choice, you blow up your life. In Christian terms, God is walking with us with every decision. The spirit of life and surprise and creativity works within us always. Our authentic self is always seeking the truth and the beautiful answer. And so there isn't just one necessary right decision. So that might offer some peace. You make the best decision you can and move on and try not to look back. The word discernment comes from a word in Old French which literally means sifting. So it's a slow, prayerful sifting, holding the decision with openness and respect, and then moving on and trying not to second guess yourself. In the Hebrew Bible it says, God says, I have set before you blessing and curse, life and death. Therefore choose life so that you and your children may live. Our decisions are crucially important. And it's not just those big decisions we've been talking about this morning. What we choose to eat, the smallest actions we do, the words we choose to speak, and most important, the thoughts we allow ourselves to think add up. They add up to a life. They matter. Every choice we make has an impact on our future selves, on our happiness, on our health, on our relationships, on our destiny. If we know who we are and whose we are and what we stand for, we can make those decisions with confidence. And then we'll be able to look back on our lives with contentment and fulfillment, knowing that our lives have counted for something good and that our deeds will live on after us. And may it be so. Amen.